The amount of times I hear on the internet, see on the internet, people saying that they're going to leave their country and move overseas for a better quality of life. They're going to have more chances of being successful and they're going to have more opportunities. It's a big trend that I think everyone's seeing on their social medias because the more and more people I speak to, the more people notice this trend. However, I feel like it points out a lifestyle which is not achievable for everybody, and I feel like it fails to acknowledge a really big and important thing when we're talking about success moving countries and where to find the most opportunity. Before we get into a topic like this, we need to discuss the fact that there is going to be differences and nuances for everybody's situation. Some people will be massively more successful in this country than this country. Some people will have maybe family ties or know the language or have a job opportunity set up, or maybe they will have an online business and move here, there'll be a cheaper cost of living, and it makes sense. Maybe the quality of life seems worse, but they are more accustomed to it or they're more happy to live that way, irrespective of what the lifestyle is like in their home country. With that being said, though, this idea that most people, or the average person, can move to a different country and get better opportunities fails to acknowledge a number of big concerns or a number of big factors when we contemplate this move. If you are born in the country that you are residing in, which most people watching this is, and if you're watching from, let's say, the UK or the US or Canada, like most people who generally watch my videos are, you have a unique advantage in your country. You speak the language, you know the culture, you have a fairly decent education, and a lot of people who watch my videos as well talk about wanting to move, but they don't have an online income. People who intend to move to cheaper countries for jobs, they're cheaper, but oftentimes the income is lower. If you are like a digital nomad or an online entrepreneur and you have a business that can be run from a laptop anywhere in the world, you're set, right? Your quality of life is going to be, or could be, significantly better. You'll have a higher standard of living, you'll be able to afford more. But for your average person trying to move for a job, unless you move into a more prosperous country, which is possible, or a country where the industry which you're looking to get into is better, the idea of moving to cheaper countries and getting a job there is often not as sustainable as people think. Now, I'm not saying that these countries are worse at all, but what I am saying is this. There is a unique advantage that comes from understanding a culture, understanding a country, understanding the measures, parameters, and systems of a country. And let's say, no matter as to where you want to move, so I'm based in the UK, let's say that I wanted to move to, Thailand or Dubai, let's say for examples, right? Having success in the UK, I think is quite crucial first, because I don't really understand this concept for most people, that they feel like they're going to be average or below average in their country, and they're going to move to somewhere else where they may not speak the language, they won't probably know the culture, they don't have an income or a particularly valuable skill, and they think that their quality of life is going to increase. The reality of that for a lot of people is just not true. I'm not saying that you couldn't have a better quality of life in these countries, and I'm not saying that taking the pay cut isn't worth it. Some people would rather have less money and more sunshine. It's for you guys to work out, right? I'm never going to tell anybody what is correct, but people feel like this is the path to success, and the reality of it for a lot of people is if you don't have skills, an income, or a business to move there, that may not be as true as people actually think. I feel like this goes back to a wider point though, of people trying to make excuses for a lot of matters in the world and in their life. If we make out this concept that you can't be successful in the US or the UK anymore, then it takes a lot of guilt off us, and we've spoken about this before as well. If I said, well, there's no chance, taxes are high, this and that issue, it can allow me in theory to feel a bit less guilty if I'm not successful. But at the same time, these are the richest countries in the world. And I know that, a country's GDP or a country's economy is not necessarily indicative of the average person's living standards. That's obviously true. But at the same time, for most people, especially people who were born there will be a lot more opportunities to make money in the UK, in the US, in Canada, than there will be in a lot of other countries. And that's not because the opportunities are not there, but it's because oftentimes you'll need to be an entrepreneur, like I say. Maybe you can run a business when you are there, a physical business, or maybe you need to be an online entrepreneur. But most people don't think about these steps first. It's just a case of, well, my life situation in this place or that place isn't too great, so moving to this place will automatically fix it. And it fails to acknowledge a huge, huge factor here, which is the amount of effort that you put in and the specific advantages that you will have in a country where you speak the language, know the culture, and have a base understanding of what's going on. When you start to build a successful business, or online income, or even a career that you can transfer abroad, opportunities really do start to open up. Think about it really. If you make money online, anywhere that's got an internet connection, you can in theory move to. That can come with a number of advantages, even if you make a fairly average wage, right? But this idea that you're going to make an average UK wage, or an average American wage, or an average Australian wage, or Canadian wage, in some of these countries, right, for the same skills, often, not always, but often is not there. Often it is not the same, it's not going to be the same, and that doesn't mean that it's not necessarily worth it. It's a decision for you guys to make. But I hear this one a lot, and, you know, it's more of a thoughts video than anything else, but yeah, it is. It just interests me because I feel like a lot of people don't understand this to the degree that they need to when thinking about this. But moving overseas may not always be the best opportunities to increase your quality of life straight away. I feel like if you've got money coming in, you know, maybe 2 to 3 income sources, as I've spoken about before, that way you have a bit of protection from, you know, especially for an online entrepreneur, right? It can be very volatile. I know this because I am one myself. You can have months where one thing's going well, one thing's not, something can get shut down. If you've got 3-4 income streams, not so much of a problem. But if you have one job, or you're trying to transfer some skills and they're not particularly high paid skills, where is the highest likelihood of having decent opportunities, right? It's going to be where the money is. It's going to be where you have a competitive advantage, and not enough people speak about this. There's still a lot of opportunities in the UK, the US, and that doesn't mean that this is necessarily the best place to live. I'm not going to say it is. I'm not going to say it is for me. I'm not going to say it is for you. It's a decision for us all to make individually. At the same time, though, we don't spend enough time thinking about the bigger picture, and we can get kind of caught up on an internet lifestyle whilst failing to acknowledge what that would look like if we transferred our actual skills there. I'm not saying it's a bad move, I'm just saying, guys, probably have a think about it if you are thinking about moving overseas and you think it's going to immediately or guaranteed give you a much better standard of life. Not always the case. It's about making sure you're calculating things properly, looking at what skills you actually have, and what your quality of life could be in these places. Thank you for watching. I hope I'll see you soon. Goodbye.